back, everybody, to This Is My Bourbon Podcast. I'm your host, Perry, and with me, as always, is nobody, because I'm a solo boy now. I mean, I have been for about a month at this point, but yeah. There's nothing. I'm still getting, as you can tell, the muscle memory has not been lost, and I'm still getting used to saying, it's just me. But I hope you're well. I hope you've had a good week. Hope you've enjoyed yourself. I hope you've had I hope you had a good 4th of July too. If you're in the U.S. and that's something that you do, that you celebrate. And yeah, my family is finally home. When I saw you last, they were not. And I was, I guess I'm still kind of recovering from the old hand, foot, and mouth. But I'm not recovering in a way that like people could get contagious, that I am contagious, or that people could get sick from me being contagious. The way that I am recovering is my hands are peeling, and I hate it, and it's awful. It's truly terrible. I wish it would stop. But I can still drink whiskey, you know. There's nothing stopping me from that. And there's nothing stopping me from telling you that if you want to support the show, you can head to patreon.com/mybourbonpodcast, and you can do just that for as little as $1 a month. And from $1 a month, you can get access to our Discord, where you can chat with me. You can chat with people who listen to the show, all of the colorful cast of characters, the peanut gallery, from folks that you know, of course, are aware of from having listened to the show for years at this point. Or if you're a new listener, you can just get acquainted with the people who make this show possible, just like you. Thank you. Or from $5 and up a month, you get some bonus stuff, much like the bonus content that comes out every Monday, a bonus episode. And then on Tuesdays, there's the pregame chats, as well as the early version of the podcast, which is unedited, uncut, unfiltered, where you get some bonus stuff that's only for Patreon. Where this week, I don't know what am I going to do? Because I've got, I don't know what I'm going to do actually for Patreon, on the uncut stuff this week. They normally have like, they get the main review and everything. And then I do a little bit extra, like, kind of a bonus, like comparison or pour off or things like that. But I'm also considering, once or twice a month, throwing a full bonus episode onto Patreon as well. That is just for Patreon, from the $5, maybe $10 and up tier, because it would be video and audio, and it would be, me putting in an extra couple of days of work for you all. But anyway, I just thought it would be, something special to put on there as well, with like just full, like, extra review, extra, like, everything that you normally get, but it's just for Patreon. So I think it's possible. I think it's doable, and something that I've been considering for a little while. But anyway, we appreciate everybody who is on the Patreon. Once again, patreon.com/mybourbonpodcast. $5 and up, bonus content. $1 and up, you just support the show. We appreciate it, but you also have access to the Discord, where we do some hangouts every now and then. I'd like to do more of the hangouts as well, because we just simply don't do them enough, and that's on me. I own that. But we'll do more of that. Normally, kickoff episodes with a segment known as Flying Blind. However, this is a very special episode because There is a man who made this episode possible, who formerly was a long-running part of this podcast and is no longer part of it. And I had to ask him if he could provide for me samples of the whiskeys that I would be reviewing on this episode. And when he joined the podcast, he brought with him a segment that was known as Sips and Snacks. So when I picked up the samples that I was going to be reviewing, he also provided with me a snack that he said could be paired. And when he was on the show, we paired snacks and with whiskey. And when he left, we stopped doing that segment. I stopped doing that segment because it belonged to him. And I figured because he provided me with a snack and said, hey, pair it up in honor of the late, great, also fake. No, he's not fake. But no longer in the building, Whiskey Mutant. I will pair up what he provided with me. It's the Entenmann's Mini Snack Cake Crumb Cake. It says, make today amazing. And I guess I will. But here's what it looks like for the video watchers, audio listeners. Love you to death. So sorry that you can't get a good view of the mini snack cake. But it's got like a sugar coating on it. It looks a little greasy, but we'll see. We'll find out together. Oh boy. That smells pretty amazing. It smells like it's kind of shortbready. And I'm wondering, I'm of two minds about this so far, even though I haven't taken a bite yet. I'm wondering if we might be going towards like an Elijah Craig barrel proof or just Elijah Craig in general for this. I don't know. Either way, here's what it actually looks like for the video watchers. But it's a kind of mountainous little snack cake, about 2.5 to 3 inches squared. Sorry, this is for the audio listeners, so they have an idea of what it is I'm getting into. It's so cinnamon heavy. I don't know. Maybe Elijah Craig barrel proof isn't right for this. I don't know. I'm questioning. I'm questioning it. Like the highest proof might not be the best choice for this. One of the lower proof ones might be closer. I don't know. I'm gonna take a bite and we'll see. You know what? I'm gonna throw a curveball here. I think I was wrong. This is the education that I got from the Whiskey Mutant too. This is not. Oh, but there's like a lemon note too. That's weird. This is not intended for bourbon. I don't think. We might be going in two different directions here. This could either be a wild turkey bourbon, or this could be a rye. And I'm kind of leaning towards a rye. So I'm going to try the bourbon first. And I'm just going to go with Turkey 101 8 year because it was sitting right next to me. And why the heck not? I'm also going to just take a little bit off of this so I can do a pour over in a second. A Whiskey Mutant patented pour over. This might not be right. We're going to see, though. We're going to see. Not bad. Not bad, but not it. Ooh. Here we go. 15 stars fine aged rye. The Founder's Reserve. This is a newer product that they kind of recently sent to me for review. And I kind of get the feeling that this is going to be where it's at. If I'm not mistaken, I might have found the correct move here. Okay. We're at least in the right direction. Let's check this out. You know what? I think the turkey was actually the better move. I think at least in this instance, there was something more herbal, more like zesty about the turkey that worked with this, where this rye is not working as well. This rye is too muted. Yeah. The turkey works a lot better. I don't think it's perfect. I think that something like a Russell's probably would push it in the better direction. Just giving it a little bit more oomph. And I don't have time to like or enough like snack cake to really go through it all the way. But at the very least, it gives me a good idea of what this would look like if I really started to hone in on it. I still haven't figured that out. Doesn't matter. Anyway, the whole point being, Intamin's crumble cake, mini snack cake. If you're going to drink a whiskey with it, get you a turkey. Probably something in the higher proof range, something like a Russell's pick. But Turkey 101 8-year, not a bad start. I don't mind it. It helps it give a little bit more of a boost, a little bit more of an oomph. It kind of turns it into like pineapple upside down cake or a pound cake or something like that. But that is nice. It's fun to do pairings again on this podcast. We haven't done them in so long. It's been a month. I mean, it's not been that long, but still. Now let's talk about what I've been drinking recently. Because I want to talk about one bottle in particular that I drank on my live stream, which if you're not watching the live streams, please do. That's where I normally cover like bourbon and whiskey news of the week, what's going on in the industry. I do that on YouTube and Twitch. The Twitch channel is twitch.tv/mybourbonpod, just kind of like it is everywhere else. And then YouTube, of course, is just the normal YouTube channel. But I also try to pair it with doing a review as well, or some kind of flight or something. Just depends on what's going on during the week. But this past week, I reviewed a bottle that I had been searching for a while, and I finally found the Jefferson's Reserve Cask Strength at 130 proof. And the purported rumor behind this, it was kind of like unsure. I've heard a little bit more like actual information since this past Thursday's stream. But the barrels that go into it or have gone into it are Heaven Hill, Turkey, and Barton. I can really notice the Barton influence in this, particularly from the Barton products that or the Barton mash bill that is used on the stuff that is kind of not necessarily like offloaded, but it's not their typical mash bill. But I'm talking like the 75-21-4. It's got quite a bit of influence in there, but everything else is not necessarily like the most harmonious. But all of this is to say that while this initially didn't read like the most ultra positive bottle for me, and is still not my most favorite release in the world, it has improved with time. And there are instances where I don't always like. It's not to say that I get it wrong, but first impressions are not always the most accurate ones. And this is not even a like neck pour thing. Are neck pours real? Yeah, I think so. But that's a fun debate to have. But I think that like there is a world of good in some cases that can come from letting a bottle sit with air. And to me, this was one that definitely needed some air. And it really, really helped the flavor profile develop. And I'm not saying that like it bumped it up. So my initial score when I reviewed it on this past live stream was a 12 out of 20. So if you're familiar with the show, or even if you're not, you know that, well, okay, I didn't phrase that right. If you're familiar with the show, you know our rating system, but if you're not, it is nose, palate, finish, and price with each score being out of 5 and a final score out of 20. And I was like, I feel like I need to give this bottle a rating. And I don't normally do it on live streams. Like it doesn't always feel like it's the most conducive to a live stream setting. Because I can kind of like craft things a little bit better on podcasts and I can make them go a little bit quippier. But on live streams, it's like I'm sitting here and I'm having to like do the math and I'm having to talk about it. But it felt like I needed to be more like more defined with this review. So it came out to a 12 out of 20. And part of what really hurt it was, really just across the board, it was not performing particularly well, where it was just kind of going flat more than anything. And again, like the more that I go back to it, the more I'm like, that doesn't accurately reflect how I feel about this now. And I think that like I could probably do this for just about every product that I've reviewed on the show. But this one in particular seemed to stand out to me, not because I'm like being told by anybody, hey, you need to go and like change your score. It's just because like I just really didn't feel like, after having gone back to it multiple days in a row, I mean, like I'm recording on Sunday and that was Thursday, so 3 days ago, that it's the same bourbon, but different enough that I'm like questioning that score. So is a 12 out of 20 appropriate? No, I definitely don't think so. I think it's probably closer to like, and this is really splitting hairs in some cases, but it's probably closer to like a 14, maybe a 14.5. And like that's the, that's the issue with this rating system in some cases. Like, it can be really helpful in some capacities, but it's also very granular in others. But all that being said, though, I don't dislike the Jefferson's cast strength. It's not. I had a lot of like expectations for it, I guess, and going back to it, or drinking it on the first occasion, I was like, I don't know about this. But going back to it quite a few times over the past few days, it's been quite good, and something that I feel like is definitely worthy of the $70 price tag, too. And especially the fact that, like, if it is a limited release, I think that, you know, it's going to show people that, you know, it's worth a little, not necessarily like a hunt, but, you know, keep your eyes out for it at the very least. Like, this was a bottle that I was constantly kind of checking my liquor store apps to see if it was there, and finally it showed up at Total Wine, and I'm happy that I went and got it when I did, because if I had waited like maybe even 5 or 10 minutes longer, I wouldn't have gotten it because it was the last bottle that was on the shelf. So also maybe this is like an early tips and bits, like if you're waiting on a bottle, you know, don't wait too long. I don't know. Glean from that what you will. But regardless, that's the main, like, what have I been drinking recently? Revisiting the Jefferson's Cask Strength. So, well, folks, I'm very excited for this review. If you're any kind of long-term listener to the show, you know that, or viewer, I suppose, if you're watching on the YouTube. And if you're not, as I said previously, check out the YouTube version of the podcast. And stop in on Thursday nights for my regular live stream. Also, I meant to say this too. I'm trying to do as much like Twitch streaming as possible too, whether it's video games or, you know, just doing more bourbon stuff on Twitch. I don't know. But anyway, I've got this review of 2 new celebratory new Riff products. And if you're a longtime listener or viewer of the podcast, you kind of know that I like what New Riff does. I don't have too big of a problem with their products. But these are their products from their spring 2025 Whiskey Club. So it's a little bit different from what I would normally review. However, there's something to be said about these because it's the first time that they've put out products that are this old and products that are this high proof. They're called the First Decade whiskeys. One is a bourbon, one is a rye. The bourbon is 65% corn, 30% rye, and 5% malted barley at 120.5 proof. And the rye is 95% rye and 5% malted barley and also 120.5 proof. Now, they say that these are bottled at cask strength. It is crazy that they would both be at cask strength and also at 120.5 proof. I don't know how that would be possible, but I'm going to take them at their word, but also with a little bit of, caution or questionability on this. These were also both $90 a bottle. And being in their like Whiskey Club is not anything that you have to like pay for. It's not anything that is particularly exclusive. But it is at the very least something that you have to sign up for and be notified for when releases like this come out. So it's not something you can just walk into stores typically and get. Although I do think that there was some distribution for these bottles. I don't remember particularly off the top of my head, but I do think that there was a little bit for some, national release. That being said, though, I do have to, as I alluded to earlier in the episode, give a special thank you to one whiskey mutant, Mr. Eric Smith himself, former co-host of the podcast, for providing me with the samples of these bottles for review on this episode because I did not get the chance to grab either of these. It did not line up with me in one way or another. And I just asked him if he could provide me with samples. And he said, of course. And you would think I would have been able to see him, and it did not work out. He just left them on his porch, and I grabbed them. And I left him with samples as well. It was a trade-off. And one of those samples actually was the Jefferson's cast strength. So there's your there's your rare callback on the podcast. So anyway, I think I'm going to start with the bourbon. I figured that might be a good place to go, especially since the rye is higher rye. But yeah, let's get into it. I'm very excited for this. All right. So let's start with something that I think is pretty important to note about, and I use this designation not necessarily from a point of like negativity, but at the very least, like this is the designation that a place like New Riff might still have in a lot of people's minds. They are not necessarily a heritage brand, right? In the way that a place like Jim Beam or Wild Turkey or even Buffalo Trace might have. So I think by and large, a lot of people hear the name New Riff if they are familiar with whiskey brands and say craft distillery. And even though they might meet the terms and conditions for what would exceed craft distillery by Kentucky standards, they still, by all people's, consideration, could still be like a craft distillery. And I think that, and this is not necessarily like a knock against them, as I'm trying to iterate here. There is still like a quality to some distilleries, like New Riff, like Wilderness Trail in some cases, that identify themselves as not mass-produced in the way that places like Jim Beam, like Wild Turkey, like Buffalo Trace are. So they allow themselves the opportunity to be more selective with the barrels that go into a product like this. So whether it's from higher in the rick house, whether it's from the center cut of a rick house, but they definitely still are like a little more finely tuned, and B, there's a there's a less polished aspect to them, because these are not the push a button and everything happens automatically kind of places. These are, well, we are doing everything by hand. We're doing everything because this is our passion project kind of vibe to it. I hope that makes sense. The whole point of this long-winded statement is to say that the nose on this definitely identifies itself as we're still somewhere in craft / new guys on the block territory. And again, not in like a bad capacity, but in a like, this is just not like mass manufactured way. It's still rich, it's still dark, it's still very prominently like 10 years old. Like, they didn't pull, the 10-year-old barrels from the bottom of the rickhouse and go, you got what you got, There is there is a depth of character here that shows that their blenders, their tasters are paying attention to the quality of product that makes you want to clue into what they're doing at the 4-year, the 6-year, the 8-year level as well. Dark fruit. I mean, just raisiny. It's very nutty. The oak is crazy. But also, like, there's still some, lighter, more refreshing notes as well. I mean, there's a little bit of stone fruit. There's a little bit of honey. There's a little bit of, French vanilla as well. Overall, a very deep, complex, rich, well-developed nose. I hope he cheers with me too. There is so much on the front end of that palate. Hang on. I gotta take another sip. I do a little bit of a chew, and it brings out a lot of heat. But it's not just on like a regular sip flat. I was really just kind of curious what was going to happen if I if I chewed into it. And it's intense, man. It is an intense 10-year-old bourbon. With an insane amount of oak. There is not a lot of balance, I would say. But it's not bad by any means. I mean, I'm very much enjoying this. I think I'm just like I'm trying to like clue into what's going on here because I want this to be as good as possible because of how big of a fan I am of New Riff. And I'm also not gonna go like, hey, I'm gonna give this a pass just because I love New Riff. I want this to succeed as well. This like cherry Kool-Aid flavor that's floating around on the back end of the palate into the finish is crazy. A little bit of mint, a little bit of black tea. Honeysuckle. Definitely some clove as well. I mean, it is packed with flavor on the palate. And the finish goes really heavy too. I mean, just from a standpoint of like, does it deliver on flavor? 100%. From a balance standpoint, I think it could really use something from like a bottom of a rickhouse to help it get a little bit lighter. But this is definitely a showing of like, hey, we have 10-year-old barrels. So we want it to be big and dark and, intense. And it succeeds in that for sure. All that being said though, I mean, I'm enjoying it for sure. I mean, I am as if you don't know like my palate, I am one who typically enjoys a darker, oakier profile. And this even goes like a little bit further beyond what I enjoy in some capacities. But, you know, I'm not always like reviewing things based on what I enjoy. It's based on the inherent quality of it, I would say. Yeah, this is really interesting. I'm kind of surprised by this more than anything. I'm really taken aback by like what seems to be some of the intentionality behind it, as opposed to like what they were going for of the overall quality. Maybe I don't know. It's difficult to say for sure without actually talking to them one-on-one. Maybe we'll try to get somebody from New Riff to discuss it, which would be nice. I haven't talked to anybody from New Riff in a while on the podcast. So we'll work on that, because I need to know more. I need to know more about the actual development behind this bourbon. I'm trying to make mental notes on my score here. Actually, I think I'm gonna just gonna type it out so that I don't forget, so that I can move on to the rye. And as much as I love bourbons from New Riff, I am a massive fan of their ryes as well. I think that their 95.5 has never missed. I will be very honest. I think their 95.5 has always been an absolute home run. I just adore their rye whiskey. So this might suffer from a little bit of the same over oakiness, but at the same time, I mean, it's not too indifferent from its same like DNA at a core level. I wish there were such a thing to like accurately describe what I'm getting here, but the best way I can put it is spiced leather. And even then, that feels like I feel insane for saying that, but it truly does have this like, if a like piece of leather were like peppery and a little spicy too. I mean, there's quite a bit of alcohol burn on the nose as well. A hint of like French vanilla and honey. The more I dig into it past like the oak and the like overpowering rye notes. All right. Oh, okay. Okay. Now, where the bourbon was frustrating in some of its lack of balance, this is one of the more balanced whiskeys I have had in a long time. It is spicy. It is sweet. It is oaky. It is floral. It is nutty. It is honey. It's cakey too. I mean, it's so complex. Oh my gosh. I'm stunned by the palate on this. The discrepancy between the palate and the nose is crazy. And the finish is near infinite. I don't know. First of all, sorry, I didn't cut that either. I'm leaving that little moment in. I don't know where the palate ends and the finish begins because it just keeps going. And the finish still has not stopped. It's unbelievable. This is like elevated past like New Kids on the Block. This is like expert. We've been doing this for a century plus level of craft quality rye whiskey. Even the nose is getting better as the palate. I mean, I hesitate because it's been a long time and I don't think it's there. I don't think it's there. But it's pretty daggum close. And dare I say, the forbidden phrase in the world of Timbip, if you know, you know. I'm stunned by this rye. Absolutely stunned. I don't have any other way to put it other than I cannot believe the level of quality that this rye whiskey brings to the table. Wow. Okay. Well, I'll say it again because I said it earlier. But our review system here on the podcast is nose, palate, finish, and price. Each category is out of 5. Final score is out of 20. On the bourbon, I'm giving the nose a 4. I think the nose really on the bourbon is one of the best aspects of this. That is an absolutely spectacular nose. I mean, truly, truly. What's so crazy to me about both of these whiskeys, about both the rye and the bourbon, is the consistency that they give between the palate and the finish. They both stay pretty much exactly the same. And I'm shocked at A, at that fact, and B, that actually the bourbon's getting better. The bourbon's getting better. Sorry. Dang. That sip actually pushed the palate and the finish up a half a point. Nose, palate, and finish are all 4s. and the price is a 4.5. So we got us a 16.5 out of 20 on the bourbon. It's incredible. It really is. At first, I was at a 3.5 on the palate and the finish. It was starting to express itself a little bit more towards the light side, which was my biggest complaint, of course, that it needed more balance. And I think a little bit of air helped it out. I think it delivered after some airtime. So a 16.5 on the bourbon. The rye is a 4 on the nose, is a 5 on the palate, is a 5 on the finish, and a 4.5 on the price. Bringing that to an 18.5 out of 20. I think this is an unbelievably exceptional rye whiskey. I'm genuinely just stunned by it. I wish I had samples of them both when they first came out, so I could have reviewed them prior to the release. But here I am. Here I sit brokenhearted. But I do have a yearning for both of these bottles. I will say, hopefully one day, I'll be able to acquire them. Will that happen? I doubt it. I highly doubt it. But maybe I'll get lucky somehow, and I'll just walk into a random store and they'll be sitting there for $150 each, and I'll be like, you know what's really burning a hole in my pocket? Just a random $300. No, that's not gonna happen. I hope that you all were able to get these, though. They are, like I said, excellent. So it's nice to have good reviews every now and then. And I apologize I wasn't able to do these before now, but you know, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Well, that was a heck of a review. I was not prepared for any of that. I will be honest, but that was fun. And yeah. Thanks, Eric, for providing those samples. Loved it. Well, it's time for us to move into a segment known as Barrel Rings. It's a segment of the show that you can be a part of by leaving a voicemail or sending a text message to 859-428-8253. 859-428-8253. Carrier rates may apply. I don't know if that's true, but it's worth saying at the very least, because when you don't know how things work, it's best to be, to cover your bases at the very least. So this is from, this is a text message. This is from our buddy W. Leb. Very excited to see what he says here. This just came in like less than an hour ago as of recording. He says, "Hey, Perry, I haven't texted in a while, giving you a chance to get acclimated to your new solo act. Thank you. I appreciate that. Hopefully you can find the perfect co-host. I was going to apply myself, but the rules are too strict." Speaking of high-proof hot takes, I have a couple of things. I'm not sure if you've seen it where you are, but up here in the Northeast, I constantly see magnetic signs that are supposed to look like a bumper sticker on vehicles that say, "Student driver, please be patient." When you drive by these vehicles, you can obviously tell that they are not a student driver since the sign is faded and cracked. I feel like it's just an excuse for them to do whatever they feel like doing in traffic. That's the first one. My second thing, we'll go through both of WLib's high-proof hot takes, and then we'll move on. My second thing is people that drive forever in the left-hand lane on the highway and will not move over to let you pass. Oddly, most of the poor driving I've observed recently has been 30-something men driving like they're scared as shit to be on the road. I could be way off on both of these, but there you have it. Thanks. WLab, thank you. I appreciate you as always. Let's start with the student driver, please be patient stickers that I also see in and around Lexington, Kentucky. Now, I have a credo, I suppose, of, you know what, unless you are really bothering me on the road, I try to just let you be. Because I don't want to invoke any kind of road rage that might, that might cause any kind of harm to anybody. That being said, though, yeah, there are a lot of those people who just put those stickers on that say, "Student driver, please be patient," that have clearly been on there for like a decade, and it's it's not for any purpose any longer. But that's like if we're going to get into high-proof hot takes, and I didn't really have any this week, but, I can probably scrounge something up here. It's largely, there's a lot of people in this world who are more concerned with themselves than they are other people. And we call it the empathy crisis. Like, you're being too empathetic. And it's like, dude, come on. Like, we should be empathetic. Like, sometimes to a fault. Like, care about people. Like, it's a very important thing to be concerned with others' well-being. Well-being? I don't know. Anyway, but the whole notion of like, oh, well, if I can just go ahead and like pre-excuse myself for something, then they can't get mad at me. Like, that is annoying. And I totally understand where you're coming from. Like, very well could be the case. Now, if you pair that with the 30-somethings, being a 30-something myself, I do try to abide by traffic laws. So if I am in the left hand, the furthest most left hand, left for whatever. If I'm in the left hand lane, I'm there for a purpose, and that's to get around somebody. Okay? I'm not there to cruise. I'm not there to sit. I'm there to get around somebody. So if you all of a sudden just ride up behind me, you zoom up, that is not going to make me get over any time sooner. That's just going to make things more dangerous for anybody else around me. That being said, though, I am not scared to be on the road. I am scared to be on the road with you. Because I don't know what you are going to do while I am on the road with you. I hope that makes sense. All that being said, I'm mostly, joshing around. But WLeb, thank you again for your your high proof hot take barrel ring, because that was nice. But high proof hot take. You should be empathetic. Why are you not empathetic? Care about other people, I guess. What a crazy thing to feel like we have to say out loud. I don't know. Anyway, Tips and Bits is the next segment of this show, and it's the segment of the show where I recommend things that I have been watching, I have been reading, I have been listening to, I have been enjoying, that I want you to also check out. And this week, I'm going to recommend a couple of things. One is something that has been recommended to me that I just recently checked out. Because I am bad at checking things out until they get reminded to me again. And then I go, you know what, it's finally time for me to check it out. But old co-host of the podcast, Swan, texted me recently and said, have you ever listened to an artist named Chance Pena? And I said, no, I had not. And he said, you would probably really like him because he's a singer-songwriter and he's got really good music. And I really, honestly, like this is not me just like lazing Swan or anything. I really appreciate Swan's opinion on music. Like, I think he has really good music taste. And he sent me a specific song to listen to from Chance Pena, and it's called Sleep Deprivation. I almost said Sleep Deprived. But no, Sleep Deprivation from Chance Pena. I checked it out today, right before I started recording. Great song. Absolutely fantastic song. It immediately hooked me into checking out more of his music. I listened to another song. I cannot remember what the name of it was off the top of my head. The tab actually might still be up now that I think about it. I Am Not Who I Was. Look at that. It actually was still up. Just good. Just really solid, like, not intrusive, singer-songwriter music. I think would be a good piece to add to your rotation. And then I have got a content creator on YouTube for you to go and check out, who also streams on Twitch, but doesn't do so as much because he's that's not so much like what he's into. He's more into like his produced content. But I found him through one of my favorite streamers, and I was thinking about this guy. I was thinking about Will Neff, who I've said is one of my favorite streamers on Twitch. And I had this realization the other day that Will Neff is probably like, if you watch people on Twitch, he's like probably your favorite streamer's favorite streamer. Like, he just is funny. He is engaging. He is one of the easier streamers to be a fan of. But also, like, he loves film. He loves comedy. He loves video games. Just a wide range of like what he does. And then Will introduced me, and by way his audience, to this food reviewer named Joe is Hungry. And Joe is a resident of Georgia who does some of the most highly produced content I have ever seen for food reviews. And it is so snappy and fun, and there's an underlying tone, and I'm not going to like say what it is here, because I want you to go and watch a lot of what Joe does and see if you can figure it out from his content. There's an underlying tone to what Joe does that is not necessarily glorifying fast food, but there's a bit of a twist to it. So go check out Joe is Hungry and tell him my Bourbon Pod sent you, because he knows. And there's a chance before too long that we're going to be doing some kind of collab with Joe. Just saying. I'm just saying. We're going to figure it out. We're going to figure it out. But I'm also going to figure out how to get into this segue, and that segue is letting you know that you can support the show by heading to patreon.com/mybourbonpodcast. For as little as $1 a month. $1 a month at least gets you access to our Discord. $5 a month and up gets you access to bonus content that comes out every single week. There are other tiers on up from there, other kinds of rewards and things. But $5 and up, that's where the actual real rewards start. You got a bonus episode on Mondays. You got the pregame chats on Tuesdays and early access to the regular podcast on Tuesdays as well. You can follow the show on social media at My Bourbon Pod. You can also send questions or comments to thisismybourbonshop@gmail.com. If you want to send in a barrel ring, you can do so. That number is 859-428-8253. You can check out all of our apparel and merchandise at bourbonshop.threadless.com. If you have samples, if you have bottles, if you have things that you would like for me to check out on the podcast, we have a P.O. Box. It's P.O. Box 22609, Lexington, Kentucky, 40522. It's a great way. It's the best way, actually. The only way for you to send samples or things to the podcast. We'll check it out. And then last but not least, send a 5-star rated and review to your podcast app of choice. Let's see if we have anything new this week. I don't think we do. But it would be a wonderful way to show your support of the show, and also pushes the show up in the algorithm of the podcast apps that you use, that you listen to. And then, of course, if you're on YouTube, like the video, subscribe if you haven't done so already. New episodes every Wednesday, going live every Thursday. Both on Twitch and YouTube. And I think that about does it. Next week, I meant to say this up top, and I totally forgot. No new episode, no main episode. Might be a bonus episode. I'm not entirely sure. If I can get it knocked out in enough time, there will be one. But Patreon will still be getting their regular content, but there is no main episode of the podcast. Maybe a little bonus thing for you all to check out. But I'm on vacation. I finally have a little bit of a break. I also don't have, my I don't have a co-host anymore to fill in when I'm gone. So regardless, I will see you guys next time. Until then, though, I love you. I appreciate you. See you real soon. But I'm Perry, and this is My Bourbon Podcast.